Welcome, gamers, to Basement Arcade Pause Menu, the show where we hit pause, sit back, and just chill. I am your host, Ben Magnet, and today on my show, I, yet again, have another friend of mine from Twitter. Once again, the little ding pops up because every time I have a guest on the show, 9 times out of 10, they're probably a friend of mine from Twitter. But if this friend of mine from Twitter isn't just from Twitter, she's also a streamer and the first French Canadian I've ever had on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show, Mint Blais. Mint, how are you?
Doing pretty good, and you?
I am surviving. I'm doing all right, and I can only imagine it is stupid cold where you are right now.
It is. There's they're talking on the news how we're using so much electricity because it's so cold here. It's
Mm-hmm.
unbelievable.
Yeah, I can only imagine. The closest to well, I actually have been to Canada once in my life. I was only in Windsor, Ontario for a few hours because I was visiting my grandfather in Detroit. But I do know how cold it can get up there because I do have family from Montana, and yikes.
It's almost under 40.
Yeah, under 40 degrees Celsius or 40 Fahrenheit.
Fuck. It's Celsius, if I remember.
Celsius. Okay.
It's extremely cold at the moment.
I believe it. So before we get into today's topic, which is games that should get a remake or a remaster, I want to know a little bit more about you. How'd you get into video games?
I started to play video game when I was tiny girl. I was a little kid. I got my first NES when I was 4, I think, or 5.
Oh wow!
Yes, love it. I didn't stop playing. I started to collect video game at the age of 10, if I remember correctly. And since then, it's just been my big passion. This and antique stuff. I like antique stuff so much.
All right. So, how did you get started on Twitch? Did you just say, "Hey, I could play video games in front of people and do this"? Heck, how did you find out about Twitch?
It's a friend of mine. He wanted to see me play some rare game I had, so I said, "Okay, so how do we do this?" And he said, "Well, try to do an account on Twitch." I was like, what is Twitch? And then he just explained that it's like a streaming service. And that's how I started. I mean, the first game I played, I think it was Fail Frame for the Wii U.
Okay.
And I got a lot of viewer also. It was very strange. And I played Iron Warrior, and then just keep going playing some really weird stuff.
I mean, hey, that's the beauty of Twitch. You can play whatever games you want. I mean, if I were to go back in time and talk to my younger self and be like, hey, there's going to be a website where you can show thousands, maybe millions of people you playing a video game, I would have called myself a liar.
Yeah, my fans are actually bizarre a little bit. I mean, they at first they will ask me some stuff like Call of Duty, but then these days they're asking me to play some weird, really weird game like Plumber Don't Wear Ties, which is a very bizarre game. Then there was Harvester, which I just played. Again, extremely bizarre. Now the next one's gonna be something very similar. Those are FMV game.
Okay.
They're just weird and like it's a completely different category of game.
Okay, so kind of like well, you said FMV, so it's like how Night Trap was in the 90s.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Okay. It's the same type of game, but there was some like semi good game on the I mean, almost all FMV game are pretty bad, but there was some really weird one like Harvester. This is one of the weirdest one I played. Then Plumber Don't Wear Tie was extremely fucking weird, sorry for the swear. And then the next one I'm gonna play is kind of similar to our Harvester, but a little bit less, I will say, gory.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah, like the only real FMV game I'm even remotely familiar with is Night Trap. I never
Night
played
Trap.
it, but only because when I would watch video game documentaries or do history research, that game always comes up because here in the United States we had that big congressional hearing about violence in video games with Mortal Kombat, and then a bunch of congressmen were mad about Night Trap because it's like, oh, it's like look at all the violence against women in this thing, but in reality the player was trying to save them. So that
Hmm.
the only real exposure to Night Trap I've had was just essentially just old news footage of the congressional hearings, and also the famous clip of then President of America Howard Lincoln saying Night Trap will never be on a Nintendo system. Fast forward 20 some years later, it is.
Well, actually, Night Trap is kind of like a game. The
Mm-hmm.
one I play is like more point and click.
Okay.
And somebody said, "Oh man, you should stream Harvester." I'm like, oh fuck, what is this? Like, I start looking at it. I'm like, this there under the title it says the most violent game of all time. I'm like, oh, god damn it! What kind of mess I'm getting myself involved to? And yeah, there was some cutscene. It was a lot. I did ask myself a lot of questions, like what they were thinking making this. So yeah, I played it once. I'm not gonna play again.
All
Again.
right. I mean, the most violent video game, I think the most violent video game I've ever played was maybe Doom and Doom Eternal.
Oh, this is nothing
Nothing
compared
like
to.
that. Okay.
No, it's they use like some kind of weird. I mean, the most goriest scene of this game, the Harvester game I played
Mm-hmm.
last week, it's one with the baby, and his height pop up for no reason, and the mom just
Oh,
put them back. Yeah, that kind of stuff. It
okay.
was like, what the is going on?
What the bloody hell? All right.
Yeah,
So okay, never mind. Nothing like Doom then.
yeah, and the mom is like, "Oh, you're in the game that your mom is like, oh, your dad is sick. All right, he's sick. Okay, why did you lock the door? And when you go inside the room, it's full of blood and sex toys
Ooh,
everywhere. Like, what the hell is happening in this game?" So yeah, I'm
that does not
surprised
sound
that
like.
I'm surprised I didn't get banned from Twitch.
Yeah, I'm surprised. That doesn't sound like a good time. So okay, hold on here. Mental note: avoid Harvester like the plague.
Harvester, plumber don't wear ties. It's not gore. It's not a violent game. It's more about like soft core porn.
Ah,
Would say that there's some scenes like what the hell is happening?
you're like looking at
And
your friends like, really? This is the game you want me to play? Are you trying to get me banned from Twitch?
oh, somebody sent me a copy of Plumber don't wear ties for free. I was like, why are you giving me this? And he's like, oh, that's a rare game. Okay. I don't want this in my collection.
Oh man. Oh wow. That's okay. That's something to look out to then.
Yeah, it was
Plumbers
it
don't
was
wear ties and Harvester. Avoid those
it
like
was
that.
just a weird era of video game, and I'm not surprised that not a lot of people played these because uh they were released on the what's it called again, the not the Neo Geo, the
The Sega CD? No, wait.
no 3DO console. What was the
Oh, the three.
name?
Oh yeah, yeah. The 3DO. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that console all by itself was like I think $800 in the past.
It was
Was
a very expensive system.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was like almost $2,000 today, so it was
Mm-hmm.
extremely expensive. Plus the game, wow, that's a lot of money.
Yeah. Man, I always forget that the 3DO was a 90s console because when people talk about consoles from the 90s, they go straight to the Super Nintendo
Hmm.
or the Sega Genesis. But then we forget about the 3DO. I mean, well, it goes like
TurboGrafx.
Nintendo, yeah, the TurboGrafx 16, the Neo Geo console, the Neo Geo. Oh yeah, the ill-fated Philips CDI, that was a
Oh
thing.
God.
Yeah. Yeah, I could definitely tell you a game that does not need to get remade or remastered, or is the Wand of Gamelon or the any of the 3D or the CDI games, because no,
Well, maybe if they can just use the story, you know, just
yeah,
remake the game completely, but with that story, maybe that will work.
yeah, or at least make the game, because I know the platforming of that game was just absolute garbage.
Yes, yeah.
Like fine tune the platforming a little bit, but Nintendo, ever since Philips and the CDI just died out, essentially Nintendo themselves are kind of like sweeping those CDI games under the rug. They don't ever want to talk about them anymore.
Hmm. I'm surprised. Sorry. I'm not surprised they didn't include those in the Hyrule story. You know, the
Oh,
tree they made for Zelda.
yeah, the Hyrule Historia.
Yes.
Probably because they're like, we just let them use our characters and we regret every second of it. Because if I remember
Yes.
correctly, they just gave them the license to use the characters. Nintendo didn't have anything to do with story or gameplay development.
Hmm.
So it's probably why. And to be honest, it's probably for the best.
I'm gonna give them some point though. I kind of do like the artwork of those
Hmm.
games. I kind of like the setting. I mean, there's a lot of color,
Hmm.
but the gameplay is just it's poo poo.
Yeah. I mean, I will, true, to give the Philips CDI machine some credit, because at the time, full, like, animated draw or animated video was still very hard to do, even in that. So for them to be able to do that for that system, I will give them props, because we didn't get. I mean, we got like video and like decent cutscenes on the PlayStation, but that I would say that's like much later down the line of the PlayStation's life.
Oh, the PlayStation, the Nintendo 64,
Mm.
these PS2, Xbox, the original Xbox, these has aged poorly, so poorly. Oh, damn. I mean, some of the game you see the wall like they're moving because it's not supposed to be on the like a plasma TV or
Mm-hmm.
it just look horrible.
Well, yeah, because they were made for CRTs. They didn't know what a plasma TV was back in the
Yeah.
90s.
Hmm.
Yeah. So diving into the main topic of the show today. So the topic of the show is games that we feel should get remastered or even remakes. And I do have some list pulled up of with a bunch of games that some other companies say is like, oh, this game has to get remade or remastered or whatever. And these are in absolutely no particular order. It's not ranked or anything. It's just like, hey, I think this game should get a remaster, or it's like, you know what, that would be a good idea. Also, what about this game? This game or this series should get a remaster. So while we dive into that, do you have any games just off the top of your head that you feel should get remastered?
Oh boy, there's actually a lot. Um, Remake or remaster? That's the question.
You know what? Let's just go with the remaster first. So, all right. So for the audience, let's define the terms. Remake is like straight from the ground up, like Final Fantasy VII Remake, as in it's not just a graphical overhaul. They
Mhm.
changed some parts of the gameplay. That's like they build it from the ground up. Whereas a remaster is they fine tune the graphics, make it look a little prettier, and they maybe throw in a few quality of life things. So remake ground up, remaster, they just make it prettier.
Mm. Is there a third category of I would call it like add-on? Let's say I don't know. Let's take Resident Evil 7, the
Mm-hmm.
original,
Mm-hmm.
and add more content.
I would say for that, we'll do that like maybe for sake of argument, let's say DLC route.
Okay, so which one should I start? Remaster.
Whatever you want.
Uh, Sorry, I got so many games here. I'm looking all around me.
So
Uh,
let's make this a little bit easier. So when something comes to your head, just let me know. So I do have a list right here. This was from GameSpot a few months ago, and one game that kind of struck me as that that does deserve a remake or a remaster, and I actually think it does really deserve a remake, is Super Mario 64. Now, we all know that Nintendo re released Super Mario 64 for the 3D All Stars collection, and then it was on the eShop, and they pulled it. But the thing was, that was essentially a straight port. Whereas, I mean, yes, the graphics were a little sharper, they were a little cleaner, but the gameplay was essentially the exact same. There weren't any new control tweaks. The camera was still kind of janky. I can't tell you how many times I tried to do a leap of faith jump only to be off by a few pixels and miss it, and I died, start and have to start all the way over.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if a Nintendo were to actually remake it with, say, the Mario Odyssey engine, that game would just be absolutely gorgeous. And yeah, they can add some more stuff like they did with Yoshi and Luigi and Wario in the DS remake. So I think Mario 64 would be a really good remake for Nintendo.
For Super Mario 64, I will actually disagree for this
Okay.
one because I think this game is already perfect at it as it is.
Okay.
There's a lot of games that try to be like a copycat of Super Mario 64, and since 2022, it's still perfect. I mean, how can I explain this? Yeah, there was so many games that tried to copy the style of Mario, but they fell miserably. And yeah, it's like I'm actually still surprised for their first 3D game. It was that perfect.
Yeah.
With the cat, with the animation, the movement, anything you could do in this game was just like perfect. It was fluid. There was zero problem, zero bug. So yeah, no, I think it should stay like this.
That okay? No, that's a good argument. Now to kind of back myself up, I've been spoiled by playing Mario Odyssey, which is in my personal opinion one of the most perfect 3D platformers ever made. But I do get this where I do see where you're coming from because unfortunately I never grew up with Mario 64.
Oh,
But
really? Okay.
yeah, when I got my N64, I wanted to play Pokemon and Mario Kart, so that's all I wanted to do with my system. But I do see what you mean because I can only imagine if you're a kid in 1996 and your parents or you finally get home with the N64 and you plug in Mario 64 and you see Mario jump out of the pipe for the first time. I can only imagine that as being one of the most mind-blowing, amazing
Oh, of
experiences
course.
in all, like, because my Mario experience growing up was the 2D Mario games like Super Mario World, the original Super Mario Bros. So seeing Mario go in three directions, I mean, yes, it was, or not just three directions, in like a 360-degree view, and you can go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was. I can definitely see why people would say it's already perfect, and I have been spoiled growing up, or by playing other Mario platformers before I finally got to play 64. So I do see what you're saying. That's a good argument for it, I would say.
Don't touch something that is already perfect.
I mean, I was able to play it on my Switch thanks to the 3D All Stars collection, and I will say that as it is an absolute gorgeous game, it is an absolute fun game, and I can see why it's reveled as a masterpiece. I've been spoiled by different controls, so I completely understand where you're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but besides that, another game that the GameSpot list or the GameSpot video wants to get remade, and that's actually been kind of on the tongue of a lot of people since Square recently redid the copyright for Chrono Cross. Is some people are championing for the remake of remaster of Chrono Trigger. And others are saying, like you are with Mario 64, don't touch it.
Yes, exactly. I was going to say the same thing for Chrono Trigger, especially Chrono Trigger is one of my favorite of all time RPG.
Ooh.
It is one of the best storytelling ever. It is extremely hard to do a story game
Justin?
movie with time travel, and they did it perfectly here. It's especially the like those tiny detail you can see, like if you open a box in the past Well, in the present, it's still gonna be open. And then if you go open it in the present, then you go in the past, you're gonna get the item drop in double.
Hmm.
Tiny detail like this was so amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Chrono Trigger. I would love to see a sequel, because I still think Chrono Cross is not a sequel, even if they're trying to do some tiny connection.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not a sequel. There was this. I hate him so much. There was this person on YouTube who made a game called Oil Boy. I don't remember. He made a trailer, like a April's Fool trailer of
Um,
Chrono Trigger 2, and it looked beautiful. It looked amazing, and people in the comment section are like, "I'm in tear that game does not exist."
I can. It reminds me of what IGN would do for the April Fool's trailer. Like they made a
So
trailer for a Legend of Zelda movie, and
yes.
then one year they got me because a buddy of mine, he texted me a Grand Theft Auto trailer that was air quotes going to be on the channel AMC, and I was like, oh my god, they're turning Grand Theft Auto 5 into. They're using audio from GTA 5. And I was thinking, oh my god, are they making a Grand Theft Auto TV show? That would be perfect. And then I was like, well, dude, when was this released? What's gonna happen? I need more. And then he's like, dude, what day is it today? I'm like, it's a son of a bitch. But yeah, going back to Chrono Trigger, I do have the DS copy, and this is definitely on my list of games I have to beat this year because I've never played it on the Super Nintendo, and I was lucky enough to score the DS copy, and I heard the DS copy was amazing. So
Do you know how much time I beat that game?
I can only imagine you've beaten this game multiple times.
At least 30.
Okay, sounds about right. It's kind of like with me in the original Kingdom Hearts.
The,
I
the,
played that. I was playing that game constantly while I was waiting for Kingdom Hearts 2.
the Super Nintendo version, I only beat it like 2 or 3 times. But the
Mm-hmm.
DS version, I beat it like 25, 26 times because I had a job, uh, um, night shift.
Mm-hmm.
And when there was no work, I just played with my DS, and I played that game so much.
Hey, if you have, I can't blame you. If you have, there's been so many games I've been playing as a kid where I've beaten or I've gotten through certain parts just over and over and over again. And I can like do them in my sleep.
Hmm.
Yeah, and one of those games that's actually on my own. It's on my own personal list. It's at the very top because it's one of my favorite games of all time. And a few lists, like three other, like the one on GameSpot and a few other lists I've watched, they said, yeah, this game needs to get re-released or remastered or just re-released in some form for modern consoles. Is Mega Man Legends? Have you ever heard of this game before?
Yeah, I love Mega Man
Oh,
Legend.
yes. Like I still have my original PlayStation copies, but I'm kind of mad, or not kind of. I really am mad. I'm mad at Capcom because they don't give Mega Man Legends any love.
They made Mega Man Legend 2, and then they were supposed to do Mega Man Legend 3. Did you beat Mega Man Legend 2, by the way?
Yep. Oh yeah, I beat
Okay,
both of them. The
because
only one I've never beaten was Misadventures of Tron Bond because I never owned that. I only rented it from a rental store once.
because there's people on Facebook. Well, a long time ago, they made a group called Get Me Off from the Moon" or something like that. Because he's still stuck. He's still stuck on the moon. It's like, no, Mega Man is stuck on the moon
Yeah,
forever.
yeah, he's still stuck up there. But I'm really glad to see like other like say gaming journals or other gaming publications giving this game some love and saying like, look, we may not never get Mega Man Legends 3. It hurts my heart, but if we never get Mega Man Legends 3, I'll be bummed. But if we can get some form of Mega Man Legends on modern consoles, like the Mega Man Legacy collection for both Mega Man, Mega Man X, and even ZX. I've heard they sold decently well. Capcom made their money back with those games, and it's like cool. You know, people want to play Mega Man. There is a
Hmm.
market here. Give us
Hmm.
Legends. Give us the Legends Legacy collection, and include Misadventures of Tron Bond. I will buy that in a heartbeat.
Especially for trombone, which now costs like $800.
I don't even want to. I mean, I'm
Yep.
lucky. Yeah, I still have my copies of Legends 1 and 2. And when I looked and saw, like, on price charting here in America and how much Mega Man Legends 2 costs, I'm like, good God, I bought this at a Blockbuster for $10 to $15.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's worth over 150 CIB.
I
What has the
bought
world gone to?
I bought Rule of Rose for $5. Now it's like almost $1,000.
Yikes. Yeah, even Chrono Trigger that I saw at a store a few months ago that a CIB copy of Chrono Trigger, a store was trying to sell it for $500.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, oh, do you want the PlayStation 5 or do you want a CIB copy of Chrono Trigger instead? I mean,
Chrono Trigger.
I got lucky with my CIB copy of the DS game because that was through an eBay buy and I got it for 75, and the DS CIB goes for around like maybe 120 ish, give or take.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the box isn't in the best condition, but it's still like the game itself pristine. The manual pretty darn good shape. So
Yeah, video game are now a luxury.
yeah, they most certainly are. So a game that there's this list from Dream Team FC, which is I'm going to assume an English publication. There's one game on this list that I'm like, really, that game? Because I've never even played I never played the original. But actually, there's two games, one right after the other. The first one I saw that kind of made me raise an eyebrow was the Punisher that came out in 2005, and the original Grand Theft Auto in 1997 for the original PlayStation 1 Grand Theft Auto. That's them saying, hey, these games need a remake. Now, I won't have much to say about Punisher because unfortunately I never played it. I never really heard it. And back then, especially in that era, comic book games weren't necessarily all that good, or they were very hit or miss.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say Grand Theft Auto 1 could be a really good remake, as if they remade it from the ground up and say the style of GTA 3 or 5 or something like that.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't own Grand Theft Auto 1,
Mm-hmm.
2, and all these on the top view because I really don't like them.
Mm-hmm.
The first one, not in trade. These one I don't like for some reason. I tried them, I just don't get it to them. And then Punisher, I do own this game.
Mm-hmm.
I barely played it. It's extremely violent for PS2. Uh, if I remember correctly, it was actually pretty fun, but
Mm-hmm.
it is violent like
Okay.
crazy.
Yeah, I can only imagine if they were to remake the Punisher. That's especially in modern day graphics on say PS4 or PS5. It's just like it's absolutely bonkers. But there is another game on the same list on the Dream Team FC list that I do remember renting. I played this on my on the Dreamcast. It was part of a demo, and I rented it once and I loved it. And I'm bummed I never found it and bought it. And that's Legacy of Kain Soul Reaver.
I never played that.
So it's this game. I don't remember much of the game itself. I only remember or when I say don't remember much, I mean the story. So because I can only remember like say, oh, you were like a soul who was betrayed, and then you went to hell, and then you got some sort of demon powers, and you're able in your road to redemption is like taking revenge against the one who wronged you. I could be wrong. If any Legacy of Kain fans out there, let me know if I'm wrong. But what I do remember is how beautiful the game looked, even on a PS1 and a Sega Dreamcast, because the colors and the platforming were actually the colors were sharp, just beautiful greens and just dark blues, but also the platforming and combat was very sharp, very precise. It wasn't sluggish at all. It was a very fun game to play.
I, I like I said, I think I saw someone play it, but I never tried
Yeah.
it.
Well, have you ever played Metal Gear Solid?
Yes, I have all of them.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so Metal Gear Solid is another one I've been seeing constantly pop up every now and then on lists of like, oh, this game needs to be remade in like better graphics. Then part of me kind of agrees.
Oh, it's gonna be remade on the pachinko machine.
Metal Gear Solid Pachinko.
Yeah, like they did with Silent Hill. That's what's gonna happen because Konami is it's they're dumb. So
Yeah, they suck.
mm,
Yeah, Konami is definitely Konami. That could definitely be a thing about Konami. I don't want to get into this too much, but the second I found out that Konami was celebrating Castlevania's 35th anniversary with NFTs, I'm like,
mm,
can you not? It's like,
yeah,
really?
stop.
Yeah. I mean, the good news is that they did release collection. Like, there is the Castlevania collection that you can get on Switch. They did have a thing with limited run. They're doing a thing with limited run, or they
Yeah,
did.
about it.
Yeah, they did a thing with Rondo of Blood and Symphony of the Night, which I mean, I bought the game digitally, but I might get the game physically as well. And also, of course, when the Castlevania Advance collection came out. So the good news is there are collections for Castlevania that you can play them, but
Hmm.
at the same time, an all-in-one collection, or people, there were so many rumors about Konami's actually making a real new Castlevania game, and then it's like 35th anniversary NFTs for all y'all, and 90% of the internet was like, how about no?
Mm. Yeah, I'm gonna make people mad. If you remember correctly, one of the last Silent Hill Downpour, I think that was the name. It was not really made by Konami, and it showed. I mean, there was a lot of bug and stuff. So if they don't allow another no, sorry, if they do allow another company to do this game, I'm gonna be very scared because,
Mm-hmm.
like I said, Downpour, it's it's okay, but there was a lot of problems. So,
Yeah,
I Silent Hill, Metal Gear, Castlevania, they're they will only resell the game, but I don't think they're ready to make new games. Sadly.
yeah. I mean, there are other game companies out there with even rocky histories when it comes to classic games getting remastered. Square Enix definitely comes to mind, especially because when Square Enix does a remake or even a remaster, it is very hit or miss.
Hmm.
When they do a remake or they do a re-release, like they did the Collection of Mana series for the Switch and for the PS4 a while ago, which gave the first two games that came out on the Game Boy Advance. It's like, hey, you can play these games as well as Secret of Mana, the original 16-bit version.
Hmm.
Great collection, beautiful. You can do so many different things with the colors of the Game Boy screens. There are save states. There was a lot of great quality of life improvements, but then they turn around and go, hey, here's an HD remaster, and it was not well received.
Hmm.
And then you have games like Trials of Mana, which never came out in the United States originally, but was included. The 16-bit version was translated to English and other languages in the Collection of Mana, and that's a fun game. I enjoy it. It has a few issues here and there, but as a fun little RPG romp, if you want to kill about an hour, I would say it's a good time. And then you get batshit crazy, amazing translations, and just you get stuff like Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is like it's like
Hmm.
the original game, but then it's just leaps and bounds over what happened and what was before. So
I I actually prefer. Yeah, I know a lot of people is gonna try to find me and burn me to a wooden pole. But
whatever your opinion is, I'm not gonna be like, "How dare you?"
I do prefer Final Fantasy VII remake than the original. I I oh, like I said, when I was a teenager and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
I did wanted to see that game like more like you use the sword and stuff, and they kind of did it with Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core. Yeah, that's how I'm talking about. Now they need to do the same thing with the original, and they did. Uh, they actually made that game because they were starting to be out of money. I do remember an interview when they said, if we're gonna be out of money, we're just gonna remake Final Fantasy VII. And there was a couple of titles they have released that were actually pretty bad, and I think that's the reason they made Final Fantasy VII remake. So yeah, I do love Final Fantasy VII remake a lot. There was I had a few problem with it, but overall, I do prefer this version than the original.
I think I'm on your camp as well. That I prefer the remake over the original. Not to say that the original isn't a good game,
Oh, it's
but
legendary.
yeah,
Seriously.
it is. It's one of the highest selling PlayStation One games. It's the I'm pretty sure I'm right when I say it's the best selling Final Fantasy game of all time. Going outside the remakes, but Seven has just gotten so popular, and Square knows it that there's a reason they put a lot more love into Seven than say other Final Fantasies.
Titus.
Yeah, I still love that. Hey, 10 was my first Final Fantasy. I still love that game. But the thing about Seven Remake, is also it's not a beat for beat story than it is in the original. Because a
Mhm.
lot of people were scared that it was, or not scared, a lot of people were expecting it to be a beat for beat remake, like the dialogue mostly be the same. But what I love about Seven Remake is that it brings more character to it brings more like depth to characters that were kind of written out or were one-offs in the original game, like
Mhm.
Wedge, Biggs, and Jesse. They were essentially there to die, and then spoilers, they were essentially there to die in the original game, but here you actually care about these characters. You actually want them to
Mhm.
live. And then during
Yeah.
the scene when the Sector 7 plate falls, you feel bad. I almost started crying when Jesse threw her grenade at the helicopter.
Mhm. Well, I'm pretty sure they're alive, especially with the ending. I
Oh yeah, yeah,
think
especially that ending.
we don't know. Maybe. I mean, one of them is alive.
Yeah,
The other two
you
don't
should have
know.
seen you should see my reaction when I thought I beat the final boss, and I'm sitting there watching the cinematic, and then I see Sephiroth. I'm like, oh, don't tell me I have to fight him. Don't tell me I have to fight him. Don't tell me
Hmm.
I have to fight him. Then you hear the opening notes of Whelming Danger Rebirth. I'm like, no, I have to fight Sephiroth. I was like, shit. And then thankfully I beat on my first try, so I'm like, phew, don't have to go through that fight again. Now, do you have you played any other you've played other Final Fantasies, correct?
Yes.
Um what Final Fantasy would you like to see get the 7 remake treatment? As in it's completely
Tactic.
the combat system is completely renewed, the story is given new life and it's fully voiced. What Final Fantasy would you like to see get the 7 treatment?
Uh, the problem is my favorite Final Fantasy ever. I don't want them to touch it.
Mhm.
It's actually Tactic. The
You're a
first
Tactics
one.
fan too?
Yes, it's my
Oh,
favorite one.
that's on my list. I wouldn't say a remake, but I would like to see them remaster it and maybe throw in some voice acting and just maybe make the graphics look pretty. But the gameplay itself, keep it the
Yes,
same.
I
I would
love
love
it.
to see a Tactics remaster on modern consoles.
Maybe maybe they can tweak some stuff to make the progression of your class a little bit faster, because some
Mhm,
of the skill layer require a shit ton of job point, and
mhm,
you just start a game, and then you make sure that there's one enemy that is stuck, it doesn't move, and you just like cast sleep on him or whatever, and you use this the square
mhm.
ability accumulate to get more G point all the time, or use potion all the time, and it get repetitive. I know you don't need to do that before someone will want to complete the game at 100%. You need to get all the skill, and it's just
Yeah,
fuck. It's a lot of work.
yeah.
uh,
There's a lot of now. I have played Tactics before, but because the first Tactics game I ever played was Tactics Advance for the Game Boy Advance. Oh, I love that game. My first one. Come on.
Bleh. I don't think it's that good. The Advance Two is not that it's not that bad, but Advance One is just, oh boy, it's just extremely repetitive, and
I will agree it is repetitive, but that was my first foray into Final Fantasy Tactics, and that was definitely one of the games that made me a Final Fantasy fan. It was Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasy X, and then Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. Those games are what made me a huge Final Fantasy fan. But I would agree because one of my friends did give me Tactics on the PlayStation 1,
The
and I will
best.
say that game is there are parts of that game that you would think just by playing it they'll tell you how to progress. But I remember I want to say getting into the third main combat mission of the storyline. For some reason, I just could not beat it, no matter how hard I tried. It was just absolutely kicking my butt. And I'm like, this is the third mission of the main story. Why is this hard? This shouldn't be this hard. And it's definitely a game I want to go back and like instead once I get to that part, maybe go back to the other missions and just try and grind and level up and then see
Hmm.
how it's going to progress. Because I've only heard amazing things about the story. You can unlock Cloud in the game. There's just so many good things about the original Tactics that
The
people have talked about.
music is insanely awesome.
Yeah, the music's great. The story is amazing. And I'm like, I want to experience that. And excuse that sound, my roommate's cat scratching on the scratching post. But I have just wanted to play Tactics so bad. But every time I've played it and I've tried to get past that one level, I just couldn't. So it's definitely on my list that I need to get through someday.
What I love so much about the first one, not the PSP version. This version sucks. The PS1 version is I do a lot of hacking, and I do remember one time I streamed that game and I was playing versus mode. What I
Mm-hmm.
did is have I hacked the game so I control all the units, and
Mm-hmm.
then I was fighting against myself, and I was like, "Holy fuck! How can the enemy win sometimes? Because it's impossible to win against you. You know your main character."
Mm-hmm.
And by doing this, I found a lot of weird stuff. Like I don't know if you knew, but there was an hospital in the game. It was cut off from the game, but it's still there. There's an
Mm-hmm.
hospital as a
Oh,
level.
I don't think I knew that.
Uh, some of the enemy are outside of they're just outside of the map for no reason. Like
Hmm.
when you fight Will Graf, one versus one. When I did that hacking, as soon as the game start, there was three-way graph for no reason. I was like, "What the hell is going on?" This one, the original one. There was one level one with very shitty weapon, and there was one level 99 with no weapon. I was like, "What the hell is happening?" And then what else stuff I did? Oh, Tita. What is her name? Tita. I think that was her name, Tita.
Mhm.
Tifia, whatever. Delta's sister. What is her name? God damn it. I don't remember. Anyway, I hack her to be part of my team.
Mhm.
So she's in the game. She's fighting on my side. But since the game didn't program her to be in a battle, when I was using a sword, she was all just glitched up like missing new from Pokemon. There was part of her in the sky and stuff. What the hell is going on? Yeah, there's so much stuff you can do. There's also that's not a hack, but that's a glitch.
Mhm.
I think that's a glitch. You can actually get a trans character.
Oh, that's.
Yeah, in a random battle, there will be a time mage.
Mhm.
She her character on the battlefield, she's a woman, but
Mhm.
when you look at her portrait, it's actually a man.
Oh.
But yeah, I think that was a glitch because they actually fixed this in the PSP version.
Mm,
There's a ton of stuff you can discover, and love this
mhm.
game so much.
Okay. Yeah, Tactics. I mean, I would love to see just like any more love of Tactics because I do have all three. I have the DS one, the GBA one, and of course the PlayStation one. But it bums me out when I mean, it bums me out when Square is like, "Hey, we're gonna do cool more stuff with Final Fantasy." It's like, yes, you can have the mainline entries, but there's also these great side games that I would just love to see more of. Tactics specifically,
Hmm.
although we are getting that triangle strategy game, and that looks so good. It looks so gorgeous. I love
It,
that art.
it looked good, but I tried the demo. There's still there was still a lot of work need to do.
Mhm. Yeah, but like I think the developers came out with a letter saying what the changes are based off of feedback from the demo. So it's good
Mhm.
that they're listening to feedback. But at least with some of the games that I can be playing right now, or a series that can get my tactics fix is thankfully through Fire Emblem.
Okay.
Yeah, Fire Emblem Three Houses. That was a journey. Still going through that journey. There's like, oh God, that's like 100 plus 20. That's like a 120-hour game if you go through all the routes. It's nuts.
And since we're talking about Final Fantasy, my favorite one as number it's 6.
Okay.
Final Fantasy 6 is my favorite one. I think the story is amazing, and if you think about it, if you compare Final Fantasy 6 to Final Fantasy 7, it's the same story. It's completely the same story from point A to point B. I mean, they made it's the Empire in 6. Oh, that's the Shinra, and then they make Super Soldier. Oh, you mean the Magic Tech Knight? And then the soldier from Final Fantasy 7. There's a lot of similar stuff with these two.
Okay.
So it's almost a copy paste story with these two.
Now I
Uh,
Now I started playing 6, but I haven't finished it yet. I
okay.
didn't get very far because I had the PlayStation 1 copy of the game. And then when I got my SNES Mini, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna play 6 on the Mini because that's when it originally came out on. I
Hmm.
want to play it through there with the original button layout. But 6 is definitely a game that is on my list. Is like I need to get through Final Fantasy 6 because
Yeah.
I've heard like a lot of people's when they say that what their favorite Final Fantasy is, they put 6 at the top. I think more
Hmm.
than 7. You
There's
know,
some there's
yeah,
some
you
cool
know.
stuff with 6, like blocking magic.
Mm-hmm.
There's You can block magic. The summon are very cool. There's a lot of side quests.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I don't want to spoil it, but there's a lot of stuff to do. I really
No,
love
that's
6.
good. Actually, so your favorite Final Fantasy is 6,
Hmm.
and actually that's one of the games I would like. Now, if I play through it, I'd probably have more to say about it because I would like to see some of the older Final Fantasies get like more love and more treatment. I would definitely say 6 might be a good candidate for getting the Final Fantasy 7R treatment, as in like a brand new like 3D graphics, or not just 3D graphics, but also maybe a difference in combat. I once again I haven't played through the game, but I've heard some people say it's like, yo, 6 would be really cool as a remake. But luckily, my favorite Final Fantasy already has a remaster, and it's a lot better version, and that one is 12.
12, which I don't remember which one is this. Is this with the one where you can actually use your sword, or?
It was one of the first ones to do that. 12 was
Oh, okay.
12 is a different one. It takes place in, I mean, I gravitate towards 12 when it was announced because it took place in Ivlis, which is the same land that where Final Fantasy Tactics take place.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it wasn't a turn-based battle system like 12, like 10 or the other ones. It
Hmm.
was kind of open, but not really. But I mean, I really like the characters in 12. I like the locales and how you're kind of more of a free, like when you go into a dungeon, you have more of a free reign to look around and enjoy the scenery. And when that game got remastered and re-released as the Zodiac Age, they made a job system. They tweaked the license board, which that one was like a free for all, and you didn't have to grind as bad.
Hmm.
It was a much better version than the original PlayStation 2 version, which I still adore.
Hmm. Me, after 7, sadly, it goes down. Final Fantasy 8, I don't hate it, but
Mm.
I like it. Then Final Fantasy 9 is alright.
Okay.
Then it start at 10. After 9, for me it's bad.
Oh,
10, 11, 12, 13, especially 13. 13 with its follow-up. I hate this game so much. I'm the kind of person who will see something on the TV, like I don't know. I do remember a little bit of the opening of Final Fantasy 13, and when she start using her blade against this giant robot, I'm like, how does she knows that our tiny sword can defeat this big ass giant mech? You're like, no, there's no way that's possible, and she does it. I'm like, what the fuck is this? You know,
well, if you think of that way, it's the same thing with Cloud when he fights the Scorpion in 7,
yeah, the
or the
cloud
Scorpion
is
mech.
it's more explained because he's a
He's a soldier, yeah.
superhuman. Yeah,
Yeah.
here she's a human with a gunblade. I don't know what the name of the sword is, but she used a little blade against a robot with chainsaw or rocket launcher and stuff. I'm like, what the hell?
I mean, also the way I see it is like it's a video game. It's a Final Fantasy. Fantasy's in the name, so it's like it doesn't have to make sense. It's just like it's magic, whatever.
Yeah, I got the same. Somebody said the same thing to me. Oh, it's Final Fantasy. You cannot shit. Yeah, I can shit about it. I don't find this like this. This is making no sense. Like I bitch so much about the gunblade of FF Final Fantasy 8 because
Mm-hmm.
it's a pistol grip to a attached to a blade. How
Mm-hmm.
can you use? You're gonna break your ankle, like break your sorry your hand with this. And then a few hours later in the game, I see Reno using our dog as a bullet for Scurrican launcher thingy. I was like, okay, this game is on drug. I can't play this anymore. I was like, what the hell?
All
And
right, so
yeah,
I'm scared to ask, but did you play Final Fantasy 15?
let me check on Google. Which one is this? Um. Okay. 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 This is the one. I did a little bit.
Did you like it?
Mm, well, I like I said, I played a little bit. It was
Okay.
kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean,
Um.
I really enjoyed 15. I mean, I get the story isn't the best, but for me, it was the gameplay, and that one's more of a fast paced action game, kind of like Final Fantasy 7 R and Kingdom Hearts.
Mm-hmm.
But also once again, the characters are very lovable. It's so to me, it's more about the character interactions and the story. But I still say it's a solid Final Fantasy game. I mean, it's not the best one by far, but it's still a fun entry if you want to like, you know what, I might want to dip my toes in the water. It's like maybe give 15 a shot if turn based isn't for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the one I would point to, like say friends of mine who want to get into Final Fantasy but they don't know where to start. I'd ask them if they're comfortable with turn-based games. Like, are you okay with like waiting and really calculating your attack? But if they're like, nah, I just want to get in and swing my sword, then I'll either point them to 7R or 15. Probably
Okay.
15 first.
Okay. Yeah. Me, it's just I do love some Final Fantasy game, but like I said, I have the mindset of in sometimes it must make sense and stuff like Final Fantasy 13 I cannot get into because it make no sense. And just to give an example, I don't remember there was a the name of this character, but there was a black man with an afro, and he had a little chocobo in his afro.
Oh,
And
yeah. Zaz, I think his name was.
okay, if you go read, there's like some data log.
Mm-hmm.
I do like to read that shit, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
If you read the data log of the little Shugabo, it said if people knew what the name of the little Shugabo was, there will be a nuclear catalyst. Like what? And
Hmm.
I thought it was a joke, but no, it's real. If somebody knows for some reason the name of this little chocobo, it will be the end of the world.
Wow, that's
What?
nuts.
What? What? No.
Okay.
It's
You know,
stuff
I
like
kind of
this
agree.
I
That
don't
kind of
like.
I mean, I did recently get Final Fantasy 13 and 13 2. I mean, they were super cheap. I figured, you know what, I should probably play this game because I only played it for 2 hours when it first came out, and then I never touched it, and then all the backlash came out.
Hmm.
But I got it for cheap, so I'm like, you know what, I'm not mad. I like collecting Final Fantasy games, and I would like to play through most of them if I
Hmm.
can, except 11 and 14 because I know the servers for that one are dying, and 14 I know that's just an absolute time suck.
I just
But
I, I just want to give an example. Square Enix make a game like Final Fantasy 13 for me. The story make no fucking sense.
yeah.
Uh, but they also made a game like Final Fantasy 7 Crisis Core, which explain the entire story of the Buster Sword.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's like two different teams made this game. It's like, what the hell? You have the most awesome story ever, and then you make this. Like, what happened? What happened between these two games? Yeah,
Well, you're right. Different teams made the games, so it's but
uh,
yeah, who knows what goes on? Because Square is a large company, so they got multiple teams working on multiple games.
so yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna buy the new one. It's a remake of the first one, I think. Uh,
For 7 or for
Destroy Chaos. What was
oh,
it?
that Origins. Yeah, that one.
Hmm.
Uh, I'm still on. I'm still jury's still out for me on that one. I have to watch a little bit more, a few more trailers. But I mean, I would actually be okay with someone redoing or remaking Final Fantasy One in a different way. But we'll have to see how that goes. So
Mm.
going back to other games that deserve a remake or a remaster, there we talked a lot about the PlayStation, but there is one PlayStation game that I feel that it was a beloved game, but it hasn't gotten any love since. I think it got a sequel on the PS2, but that's about it. Have you ever played Ape Escape on the PS1?
Nope.
That's another platformer where there's a bunch of monkeys that go out that are out and about running amok throughout time, and it's your
Oh,
job to go find them and hunt them down and catch them with a net.
oh, it's about the game. It's a game about electronic art.
Was it a EA game? I don't know. I haven't double checked that.
No, no, it's a joke. Like it's a game about electronic art. Then.
Oh, I see what you're saying now. But yeah, Ape Escape is, man, that game was so like that not was is that game is so good, but that should definitely be remade. Let's see what else do we got. Do you have any other games that are like just like you that should get remade, or do you are you or you're still kind of meh?
Mm, well, there is actually one game I would love to see a complete remake
Mm-hmm.
because it's extremely whole, but it is one of the best, if not the best, storytelling game of all time.
Okay.
It's, I think if I remember correctly, it's Ultima 5. Let me check because there's a lot of Ultima game. Ultima,
Ultima. That was an old. Was that an old DOS
Warrior
game?
of, yeah, Ultima 5 Warrior of Destiny. Holy
Okay.
goddamn, this was great. This was had one of the best storytelling game ever.
Okay. Yeah, I only know of the Ultima series thanks to the documentary High Score on Netflix,
Hmm.
but because I know Ultima was a very early RPG, and
Yes, extremely whole.
yeah, I mean it was back. I mean it wasn't a text based game, but it was definitely during that era where the graphics were a lot cruder than they are today. But I've heard nothing but amazing things about the Ultima series. So you know what? I would raise you not just Ultima 5, but maybe an Ultima, maybe a revival of Ultima.
I,
So that
I
way,
I
excuse me.
didn't. Oh, sorry.
No. I'm sorry. You finish.
Okay, I didn't play all of them. I think I played 4, 5, and 6,
Mm-hmm.
and then we went to the video game store. I said, "Hey, mom, look, there's a new Ultima game," and she's like, "Is this stuff about is this a game about hell and stuff? You know, like religious stuff?" "Oh, no, no, it's all right, mom. It's a good game." And there's this giant pagan logo on the cover art, and like, it's a Miro game. I'm the good guy. Don't worry.
Don't worry, Mom. It's not Doom.
It's not Doom, but when you play the game, it's like you need to kill Kid in this game, and you need to summon Devo. It's like, oh
Oh,
god damn! But no,
you,
the best one will be 5. If
okay.
Yeah, that's the one we need a remake.
All right. I would just like to see a revival of some of those old DOS or those older RPG games just coming back, either as a collection, playable on modern consoles or modern hardware, or a remake would probably do this good and spark more interest. Because I
Mhm.
know, because some people talk about like, oh, there's like so many more remakes and remasters. It's like, where's the original ideas anymore? The thing about that is, I say that the remakes and remasters are a good thing because it means these game franchises have another life on different consoles, and
Mhm.
more younger players could experience them. Like when Crash Bandicoot and Spyro Reignite Trilogy came out, those games are 20 plus years old, and now more people can get experience with these characters and say, hey, these are really good games. They just look better
Mhm.
now.
Yep.
So I say remakes and remasters are a good thing. I do agree that, I mean, it is kind of like Hollywood. Like, too many remakes and remasters or too many rehashes is a bad thing. But with video games, it's a little different because a lot of franchises, kind of like the Ultima series, not a lot of people know what the Ultima series is besides you and I.
Mhm.
So I would say that remakes and remasters are good because it makes the younger generation aware of these games and franchises.
It sucks because I know a friend who has all of them, all the original with the box, with the book,
Hmm.
and he told me in a sad with a sad face. He said that could have been the greatest franchise of all time, but as soon as Pagan came out, it was made by Electronic Heart, and that's where the shit had hit the fans. Pagan was horrible, and the next one after that was also horrible, and was also the last game of
Hmm.
the series.
Yeah.
A sad way to go.
Yeah, it is sad, but hopefully we never know what's going on down the line. I mean, of course, there's a bunch of legal things why games haven't been remastered or remade, be it the rights owners just decide not to, or they don't know who owns the rights and they just can't get through the legal red tape, or it's not worth it. But maybe someday, Ultima 5 or the Ultima series would come out, would someone would say, hey, we own the rights to this series. We're either going to remaster it and remake it so younger audiences can play it. So I say don't lose hope, man. I think there's still a chance.
Don't think so. It's EA who own the rights.
Oh, never mind. The stuff.
Exactly.
God, that's a topic in and of itself. Oh man.
Yep.
Anyways, yeah, but I think that'll be good for today. So, Mint, thank you so much for coming on and talking with me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Problem. That was fun.
Yeah. So, Mint, where can people find you on the internet?
Twitter with the
Hmm.
same name, on Twitch with the same name.
Yeah.
Uh,
And,
I
Mint Blaze and Mint Blais. And for those of you who are listening to this, it's spelled Mint, Mint, and Blais. The S is
yeah.
silent.
hmm
So just to double check and make sure, so they're like, how the heck do you spell Blay? And they only put in the I and not the S.
People keep calling me Mint Blais, and I don't mind. I'm used to it.
Yeah. But hey, I mean, at least I was like, is it Blay or Blaze? Because I knew you were French before we started doing it, or you were
Mhm.
French Canadian before we started doing
Yeah.
this. I'm like, okay, I know French, they like to mess around with their consonants. So, And of course, you can find me, Ben Magnet, anywhere on the internet at Ben Magnet27. You can also find this show and the main podcast, Fake Nerd Podcast, at fakenerdpodcast.com, as well as here on YouTube or wherever you're listening to your favorite podcasting app. Go ahead and follow Mint on Twitch and Twitter. She's totally a rad person. I love talking to her. And thank you again so much for coming on, Mint.
Merci beaucoup.
I don't know how to say you're welcome. How do you say you're welcome in French?
Tu es le bienvenu.
Say that one more time.
Tu es le bienvenu.
I don't know if it was my internet deciding to crap out on me or I just couldn't. Yeah, that.
You can say aussi de rien.
Okay. Uh, yeah, I'll try that. I'll try that again later. But anyways, definitely go follow Mint. And for now, unpause.